Selection. We are now going to cover how do we go about the first stages in hiring. We understand what the employment relationship is now. So now we want to look over how do you select who you're going to hire without being discriminatory. The first step is understand that the selection process must be non-discriminatory. Identify when an employer's recruitment process may be discriminatory. Distinguish between job-related questions and questions that are or could be discriminatory. Understand the importance of undertaking a job analysis that will define the qualifications necessary for the job. Appreciate why record keeping is important. Discern when the EEOC may investigate for discrimination. Know why job-related criteria should be established before employees are evaluated for a promotion. Understand why only criminal convictions related to a particular job should be checked. Appreciate the employer's liability for a negligent hire. And set forth policies to discourage workplace violence. Discrimination in selection. The purpose of recruitment Discrimination in selection. The purpose of recruitment and selection is to obtain the best possible workers for a business. Key qualities that employees must possess to help a business to be more successful are education, how to evaluate an individual. There are many different methods, and here they are, and we will explore them further during this week. Testing, interviews, writing samples, demonstrations, and role-playing. The selection of a new employee, a new hire, or looking at a promotion must be free of discrimination. Advertising and recruiting. Employers are barred from indicating in any advertisement for employment that they prefer an applicant of a particular race, gender, or national origin. There is no exception for race and color. Questioning. Questioning an applicant about his or her religion, national origin, race, age, marital status, number of children, and their age is considered discriminatory during the hiring process. The examination must only relate to the essential job functions that you are seeking for the new hire or the promotion within the company. The American with Disabilities Act, ADA, prohibits discrimination against any individual in the selection process because of a disability. Uniform Guidelines and Employee Selection Procedures. They were enacted in 1978 to provide counsel and the proper methodology used in the selection process to avoid infringement under the Title V Equal Opportunity Act and the Equal Pay Act. Selection procedures. The term selection procedure encompasses the use of testing, sometimes in some cases physical evaluation, aptitude testing, educational credentials, employment experience, training programs, many different probation terms that may be set into place, could be anywhere from 30 to 90 days, resumes, interviews, and application forms to evaluate prospective candidates. Investigation and record keeping. Private employers of 100 or more employees must file annual reports with the EEOC. They are obligated to keep records relating to their methods of selection, compensation, promotion, training, and termination of employees. Samples. The Uniform Guidelines of Employee Selection Procedures permit the company to select samples and maintain records on them. The sample must be adequate in size and representative of the various groups. If it is not, an interference of discrimination may be drawn. The bottom line, the Reform Guidelines on Employee Selection Procedures adopts the bottom line approach where a myriad of selection procedures are utilized. Discrimination in promotions. The Equal Employment Opportunity Act presumes an equal percentage of all groups seek promotions. Promotion criteria. The procedure must utilize criteria that are job-related, and any of the imposition of these criteria must be uniformly applied to every applicant. Nepotism and promoting from within. Nepotism is the hiring of family members, and employers should specifically define what constitutes family members. Negligent hiring. Many job applicants and applications and resumes contain false representations made by the applicant, sometimes in person, sometimes on the phone, sometimes in writing. It just depends. And they do this to improve their prospects of being hired. Employees must be diligent in confirming the authenticity of the information that they are offering. If there is a problem with the employee, the employer will be held liable. References should be consulted for information regarding character, skill, knowledge, and experience of applicant. Now we're going to move into workplace violence. Violent acts include assaults, rapes, murders, must be guarded against by the employer for the safety of its workers, the reputation of the company, and the liability of the company. An employer is liable for the torts committed by its workers during the scope of their employment. Background checks. Background checks are essential to ensure that the information provided by the applicant is true. An employer would be wise to limit the investigation to information that is relevant and related to the job and constitutes a business necessity. If the applicant is treated differently because of race, sex, or national origin, then discrimination must be claimed. Here is the human resource advice to keep in mind. Address the concerns of those candidates who have been refused employment, and you want to handle each of these employers that you are working for and the future employees that have been refused, because they're no longer future, but they are your candidates, with great care, because you do not know if they may apply for another job and become the employer's future employee. Establish criteria for promotions that are necessary for these positions. Preferably have them in writing and have them followed each and every time that a promotion is gained. Draft policies for nepotism and promoting from within that will not hamper the attainment of a diverse workforce, and evaluate which criminal convictions are related to the available job before asking candidates about their criminal records. Guard against negligent hiring by screening candidates thoroughly. Attempt to achieve a work environment that is free from discrimination. Query candidates about the qualifications that are related to the job. Train interviewers to refrain from asking those questions that may be discriminatory. Recruit from as wide a variety of sources as possible to ensure a diverse work pool. And maintain accurate records. In summary, the selection process has become a complicated procedure for employers. They can use different methods to evaluate the qualifications of their applicants, but they have to be sure that these methods are not discriminatory. This falls on the Human Resource Department, and that is why it's very important to understand all of these highlighted topics in this presentation.